We got level 100 on the hardcore Druid, and the game was nice enough to give us Tempest Roar, which is the unique item that enabled this build. So we're now playing the Werenado build, and just going to do a quick little overview of how to set up my character, how some things work, how things synergize with each other, and how to appropriately prioritize your stats on your character too. You kind of need this helmet for the build to function. How do you get it? Once you get to World Tier 3 or World Tier 4, it just randomly drops. When you're doing Hell Tides, you go to like Hell Tide chests that drop helmets, it might drop. Other than that, there's really no good way to focus farm it. Just basically kill a lot of stuff, and hopefully the game gives it to you. And this is like the core item for this build. You want like high lucky hit chance, high critical hit damage. Make sure to turn on your advanced tooltips. That's not really part of a build guide, but when you're first starting out the game, always put on advanced tooltips and advanced tooltip information. Tempest Roar, bread and butter of the build. You could run the build without this, just with like a rare helmet with like life on kill, cooldown reduction, something like that. But you really want this. And if you do run the build without Tempest Roar, you would want like an Umbral aspect on there too. So Tempest Roar. Next thing, chest. I just run this thing pure defensively. You can also run the werewolf chest if you want, but I play hardcore. So this legendary chest, life rolls, basically all damage reduction, never get resist. So I just got total armor, close damage from enemies, damage reduction while fortified. You also just get flat damage reduction. Damage reduction of any type, even damage reduction from range is good. Just you want your chest to basically just be fully defensive, and you want to have higher tier rolls. Your gloves, this is just a damage oriented slot. You want 725 plus base items, so you get up to +4 tornadoes when you go to your blacksmith to upgrade it. That's very, very important. Your stat priority is basically just critical hit damage, lucky hit chance, attack speed. You can go crit chance on it too if you wanted. And then the legendary power that I have on there is Earth and Might, and it's basically gonna allow Earth and Might to be procced by my storm skills. And then if you look at tornado, that's what it is, right? This is how you determine what scaled with your build. It's core skills, storm, werewolf, nature magic, shape shifting, and on the bottom it says physical damage. Okay, so that's what you want there. On the chest for your legendary power, you just want increased armor, pretty much one of your best defensive aspects out there. For pants, same exact thing. The implicit, ideally when you're injured you get a shield, but I haven't gotten anything like that yet. And just pure damage reduction, damage reduction, damage reduction from close, increase armor, life. I need a higher life roll, but it's good for now. Legendary aspect, you want maximum damage reduction while in werewolf form. If you don't have a max tier roll, just use the base one that you farm. You just transfer on there. And then for boots, I like evade charges over 725 item level, and after you upgrade you get +3. And I usually just want willpower, movement speed, sphere cost reduction, and then the last one I want is werewolf armor, but I like 5 million gold per reroll on these boots, so I just need to find another pair of boots. It's getting a little too expensive to reroll. Legendary power is while you're unstoppable, you get enhanced movement speed. This will always be active because of your Grizzly Rage, which should have 100% uptime. Your weapon, you want a one-handed axe. Ideally, you want something as high as weapon power as possible on this thing, because this is where most of your damage is derived from. And then just attributes, crit damage, right? A bounty variant, werewolf skills, crit damage. You want core skill damage, vulnerability, willpower, distance to, or damage to close, damage to range, all good. And then for your gem, critical hit damage to vulnerable enemies, or you could use critical hit damage to crowd control enemies. So if you're able to maintain fortify on your character, instead of using life percent gems, you can also use sapphires in there instead. I'm just using life percent gems instead in my gear right now. Vulnerable stuff will work on bosses, so you always have it applicable, whereas crowd control stuff doesn't work on bosses unless the boss is staggered. And if the boss is staggered, it's affected by all forms of CC. Necklace, this is, you usually just want to get something resource oriented. So I got resource cost reduction, movement speed, damage, and damage reduction. And ideally, instead of damage on there, I want cooldown reduction. I have not got a good amulet yet, so I'm still searching for that, but I have enough lucky hit where I'm able to maintain my Grizzly Rage a good amount. So that's what you want there. Usually just all defensive stats, cooldown reduction, movement speed, damage reduction, and then cooldown reduction. And there's also some plus skills that you could get also that are good. You could get like Defiance, you could get like Envenom on there, but then you can also get like something like Nature's Reach on your amulet too. You get some offensive nodes like +2, +3 stuff. For your rings, these it doesn't really matter what the implicit are, resist don't really matter. You just want damage stat, vulnerability damage, critical strike damage, crit chance, life, and then lucky hit too. pretty much it. Just all damage stats on your rings too. Offhand, just something high item power. Cooldown reduction, you want cooldown reduction on there, spirit cost reduction, crit chance, and then I would like damage reduction from 4 to 5, but I just got more critical strike chance on there right now. And then also for your offhand, critical hit damage while vulnerable. That's basically your gear setup. And then for your damage aspects, you want Tornado Seek. This kind of makes your tornadoes not dumb. On your amulet, you want to have this aspect. It's extremely important because it gives you movement speed, also spirit cost reduction, so when you're in your Grizzly Rage you're able to spam. Here you just want Grizzly Rage increased chance, and then when you crit you also get a whole bunch of critical hit damage. Just when you have Fortify up, you're just going to get increased damage multiplier. And then for your offhand, you could do I like the critical strikes. It grants you course cast attack speed, just so you get more tornadoes out, and it makes your damage ramp super hard. If you don't want that, you could also run, like whenever you run use Bloodhowl, you also get increased critical strike chance, but I think just having more tornadoes out is definitely better. That's what you want to do in terms of your gear, and I have a planner down in the info section that you can see. For your spirit boons, reduce damage from elites, you want critical hit damage, you want extend the duration of your ultimate, and then for your double boon, you want Calm Before the Storm, reduce your ultimate ability, and then you also want critical strikes will heal you. And then for your pants slot, if you don't want to run a pair of legendary pants, you could also run Temerities, but kind of gives you like a overheal shield, and this helps maintain Fortify a little bit better. So if you're using anything that gains benefit from Fortify, this helps you maintain it, but I just prefer the legendary pants over Temerity. Also, this is like an RNG drop, so you might play into like level 100 and you might never have them drop ever. Okay, now for the abilities, the Storm Strike for your 2 points. You're gonna max out Tornado. This has a chance to spawn another tornado. This right here will spawn vulnerable, so this is your form of vulnerability. Vulnerability is one of your biggest damage increases in the game, so that's extremely important to have uptime on vulnerability there. Art of the Wild, just maximize damage there. When you're basically doing like bosses or single target stuff, you're gonna stand directly on the mobs, so having this increased critical strike chance is nice. And then also just some more movement speed when you're in werewolf form. You want to be as efficient as you can when you're farming. On your defensive skills, you want 1 point of non-physical damage increase, and then also 15% damage reduction for 6 seconds after using defensive skill. And this works very, very well with Bloodhowl, because as you kill stuff, it'll reduce the cooldown. It also gives you more attack speed, and it'll also heal off your health. So you're just basically spamming Bloodhowl to keep up your attack speed bonus and also to keep up your defensive cooldown. And then you'll be running Cyclone Armor. And then since you're running your helmet that turns storm skills into werewolf skills, you'll be able to use this in your Grizzly Rage form. So you just use this to like push back enemies, and then it has enhanced damage reduction every 2 seconds along with non-physical damage increase. Over here, Nature's Reach, this is more damage for things that are from range from your character, just a little damage bonus. Elemental Exposure for an additional form of vulnerability, but then also the increased duration of your Hurricane. Hurricane, you basically just have it to debuff things, to make them slower, and also to deal less damage, so you get face tank and melee range. And then offensively, Neurotoxin there, slowed enemies or poisoned enemies are slowed. This gives you critical hit damage when things are poisoned. And then Toxic Claws will ensure that things are always poisoned too, because you're going to be critting non-stop with this build. Down here, ultimate skills, you're just going to go Defiance, Nature, Magic skills, right? If you look at your tags, Tornado has Nature, Magic skills, so that's just going to give you damage boost, a little heal here, and then also Resonance. You're not getting the additional bonus, but it's still just more damage. And Grizzly Rage, just like the bread and butter, this will make you perma unstoppable, which is basically the most important defensive stat in the game. It just makes you unaffected by CC. It's going to give you Fortify also over the duration, which is nice. And then also via your legendary powers, right? It'll give you stack and crit damage, and also give you resource cost reduction. So you just spam your tornadoes over and over and over again. I just got 3 points in here to gain additional Fortify. This is just more of like a hardcore thing. You could allocate your points into a more offensive slot if you wanted to. And then for this final node, Earth and Might. So since we have this legendary power on our gloves that turns storm skills, basically storm skills interact with that node, and we have a bunch of lucky hit, when we're casting all those damage or proccing, has a chance to fully restore our spirit, but most importantly, all of our hits will be critical strike chance. So everything's going to be critically hit in there, and that works really, really well with our Grizzly Rage legendary power. Critical hits while Grizzly Rage is active increase your critical hit damage. That's just going to stack your critical hit damage to insane amount. So Earth and Might, you're going to be attack, casting, proccing lucky hits, constantly restoring your spirit, constantly guaranteed crits, constantly getting more crit damage, and then your damage is going to be ramping like crazy. Now we got our Paragon board. I'll have the D4 planner down below, and you can just copy copy pasta my setup if you want. It's pretty optimized, but I have like more defensive nodes for hardcore, and basically how it works is once you reach level 50, you'll get this Paragon board. As you level up, right, as you do your renown stuff, you'll get more Paragon points also there. This is basically what I do for my Paragon board. I'm not going to go over each node, but for the glyphs, I got werewolf damage. You just want to level this up, doing nightmare dungeons, and you want to be at least level 15. When you get level 15, the radius of these affected nodes will increase. So if you take it out, right, if I put like a little one in there, look, it's like a little small, it's a little tiny one, right, the radius. But then if you put a big one in there, it increases, right? So that's why it's important to level up your glyphs and do nightmare dungeons. You want at least level 15 on all of your glyphs that you're using in the build. Use the werewolf glyph. Then the next board will be the less for carnage board. And if you don't know how to attach boards, there's basically like this preview thing. Basically when you unlock this board, right, when you like travel up and you get right here to the board attachment gate, what you're gonna do is just gonna click on this, and it just gives you all the boards. You don't have to like farm them or earn them, right? You just select which one you want, and then you click preview, and when you click preview, you're able to rotate the board. That's how you do your board attachments. That's how you do it. But anyways, just get your werewolf glyph there, and then we're gonna go less for carnage board, and we are gonna be using the fortified node. So it's the undaunted glyph. If you can't actually maintain your fortifying, you're constantly losing it, you can also use the guzzler rare glyph. And what this does is while you're healthy or you're above 80% life, you're gonna get the more damage multiplier. The same exact thing. So you have two options here. You could use the guzzler, or you could use your undaunted for the fortify. The next board that you're gonna use is over here. This is like thundershock board. Your glyph is just gonna be earth and sky. This one's kind of like interchangeable also. You got a few different options for it. You could use the earth and sky one. You could also use like territorial for like bossing if the boss is close, right? Because it's going to be close damage, and then it's also going to give you damage reduction, which is survivability, is always nice. You could also use fang and claw if you want. If you have barrier or temerity, if you want more damage reduction, you could do that too. So a couple options there. This board right here, this is an ancestral guidance board. Just follow the path. You get like some spirit on kill and stuff, some core skill damage and whatnot. This is going to be your vulnerability application. This is very important because your first hit on an enemy is going to apply vulnerable, and vulnerable is one of your biggest damage increases. So before your tornadoes proc, it'll guarantee that you're killing mobs quickly when you're trying to like quick clear dungeons. So vulnerable application, exploit glyph. Next board is going to be constricting tentacles, but you're not going to get this legendary node. And then your final glyph here is just going to be spirit. This is for your core skill critical hit damage. That's basically just the werewolf build setup. If you get this helmet, I'd recommend going the build. If you don't get this helmet and you get like the pulverized build helmet, go that build instead. But this build kind of like around same clear speed at pulverized, but the single target damage is astronomically better, so it's better at boss killing. And I guess for farming too, it's nice because you have extremely high movement speed, which is enjoyable. And then if you want to add sockets to your gear, all you do is just go to the blacksmith. One-handed weapons get one additional socket, and two-handed weapons get two sockets, right? And this is just for upgrading, right? So this is what you want to do for your upgrading. So like before you're like doing your upgrades, you want to like always make sure to upgrade your items, right, for additional stats, and then you go add your sockets on. That'll increase like your base damage of your item. That's how you add a socket real quick at the jeweler. It's pretty cheap too. It doesn't cost too much. It just costs some scattered prisms. So one socket on a helmet, two sockets on chest, two sockets on pants, one-handed weapon, one socket, two-handed weapon, two sockets, and then necklace, one, and then one. And then always make sure to upgrade your gear too. So like both weapons, everything else. Every single time you upgrade your gear, it's going to give you additional attributes. So you can just preview those attributes every single time. But it's a pretty significant increase to your attributes. So make sure you always upgrade everything. Anyways, enjoy the god. Thanks for watching. Bye.